Hi, my name is Susan Weimer, and I'm here today with a card that I used Honeybee products on, as well as some Gina K designs. I blog at www.stampbackandrelax.blogspot.com, and I'll have the link for that below. We're going to be using Everything Wonderful in the beautiful floral bouquet. 'Tis the Season to Sparkle sentiment set from Honeybee, and the layered plaids. So here's the layered plaid stencil. There are 4 pieces, and I'm going to use the three top ones, and I've sprayed everything already with pixie spray, which I needed to coat with twice. Here's 'Tis the Season to Sparkle. Have no idea what I'm going to do yet. The beautiful bouquet and some soft stone cardstock and the coordinating ink from Gina K. And forget these two, I'm not going to use them. The charcoal from Hero Arts and VersaFine Clear. Don't use brushes with those. It just goes on way too heavily. But it cleaned up fine. It's a baby wipe excuse that it's dirty. My blender brushes, some purple tape, and my very dirty Misty. So I've sprayed some pixie spray, my goodness, onto my craft mat so that I could keep my paper stuck down, and wish I could keep my head out of the camera. So I've got my third from the largest blender brush, and I've picked up some of the soft stone, and I'm just going to use it here on this first layer. And I just want to note that the blender brushes, in between each color, I'm wiping it with the baby wipe, and I have no problem whatsoever. I used them a lot yesterday. Yesterday was when I made this card, and I did wash them last night, and they're already dry this morning. This is when I'm doing the recording. And I think it was 9 o'clock I went and picked them up, and they were dry. So I'm using my grid mat to keep everything lined up. And so I'm just spraying some more pixie spray on my grid mat, and it cleans up very, very well on my grid mat. If you have the glass mat, I think it would just probably be beautiful on that. So this is Gina K's Ocean Mist, which is one of my favorite colors. And you can see here, this is where I started to have problems with the stencil. I'm not sure if I missed spraying those little tiny thin pieces, but that's where I was having some issues. And you'll see that it's a little bit off. So, and then I'm going to use WPLS 9's Nautical Navy. And again, I'm using my grid mat to line up all of that. Nautical Navy is a beautiful blue-green. It's just gorgeous, and you should see it on white. I think it's my favorite navy, and I also like Simon Says Stamp Soft Navy. I might have a collection of navies, but for some reason I do not have the Gina K navy. So I'm going to darken the edges with some of the Nautical Navy, just because. And then I'm going to give it a spray with the Sook & Echo Sheer Shimmer Spray, which is my favorite thing in the world, and I hope they still make it, because I looked at my bottle and I'm running low, and I may have an anxiety attack. So I'm just going to hit it with my heat gun. You can see the shimmer. And now I'm going to stamp the floral bouquet with some Memento Tuxedo Black. And it's stamped up quite nicely, despite the fact that I have a very dirty Misty. And my ink pad is starting to run a little dry. The third stamping was only because of my ink pad. It had nothing to do with the actual stamp itself. So isn't this gorgeous? I think this is all roses. So I experiment usually on scrap pieces of paper, and for my final choices of Copics, I'm so sorry I'm saying but anyway, so I've picked C1, B60, and BG70. I can't talk either. And then I'm going to blend them out a little bit with the blender, the zero marker. And I did that so that the blending solution in the zero marker would kind of carry just a little bit of the color out into the white area. I'm trying to make these white flowers. When I had originally colored this, I used the BG70 series, and it was just too dark. It was a very beautiful flower, and I'll probably use it on another card, but it was just too dark for me. And the reference photo that I was using showed cool grays, and I deliberately picked that reference photo because my background is well, it leans to warm, but it has mostly cool in it, I think, anyway. So I'm also mapping in my shadows first with the C1, according to the lines that the designer put in there, so I can try and capture the shape of the petals as best that I can. This is definitely a flower that you could no line color and it would be just beautiful. I think that's next to my hit list to try with this. I just think it's gorgeous. I may no line watercolor it. No guarantees that I'll show it. And I'm just going to go around and I'm going to keep repeating this process. At some point, I'm adding a little bit of C3 down into those nooks and crannies because I feel like I'm losing depth. Yeah, there's where I did it. And I just wanted to get that emphasis on there so that we have some pop from the different layers of the petals. That makes sense. So you can see just a little bit of there going out with the C1, then B60, and then BG70. And then I'll probably hit this up, yep I did, with the 0 marker. So I really did have a lot of fun coloring this, and I thought it made a very beautiful card. The sentiments in the set have just a wide variety. It goes all the way from bless you, thank you for being a friend, and I'm trying to think of what else is in there, but there's also a sympathy sentiment in there, which sad that we need those, but with this floral I think it would be really beautiful. So maybe that's what I'll try the watercoloring with, because I only have one here, and I hate it when I'm caught without one and have to either quickly make one or go buy one. So I'm repeating this process, trying to really understand how this flower looks and compare it to my reference photo, which is over on my desk on in my camera. So I think I overdid it in here in the center. I just did not capture the center. I let it get too dark. So with my colored pencil later, I'm going to add some white highlights in those areas. And overall, I was pretty happy with this choice of color. I think another thing that might have been interesting is to use a combination of the W markers and the C markers, just to get a little depth. They kind of mix up a little differently. So now I'm going to go into the leaves. I have YG67, YG63, and YG61. And I just kept it as a simple blend, again, because I'm just still coloring with the lines here, and that does help me get to know the flower. That's why I tend to do this first. If I was coloring with it as a no line, I might choose some more realistic colors to go in there. So for these little berries, I picked R52, R54, I think it is, and R56, kind of a little cranberry color, just to desaturate it a little bit. And I didn't go to any huge effort on this. I tried to capture the shadows, and again, it's something I would probably pay a little bit more attention to if I was trying to go for a more realistic look. The yellow flowers, I regret this choice. It's Y11, Y15, and Y38, and then YR27 in the middle. I think they stand out a little too much. I kind of think the berries do too. So I have Prismacolor Indigo Blue, and since this is the 30-day coloring challenge, I'm going into those nooks and crannies, bringing it out a little bit. And although it looks like I'm holding it really tight, I'm not. It's very difficult for me to hold a pencil far out to do the little fine circles. So I do have to move my hands in, but I am doing just tiny little feathery circles. I forget what it's called. But I have a tremor, so when I hold the pencil way out far, it's just a mess. So we'll just do this. So it works. I am still obeying the rules, I think, of colored pencils, drawing. or whatever you want to call it. But anyway, so this is some 90% or 70% cool gray from Prismacolor. I do have the luminance pencils, but I haven't had a chance to really play with those, and I'm a little leery of using something that I really haven't had time to practice with on a final project yet. So again, I'm just doing the little lamb's wooling, that's what's called. Lamb's wooling into these nooks and crannies on the flower, and then coming back in with the indigo blue. I think the indigo blue just makes really everything pop. I know it uses it all the time. Black I'm not so fond of because I think it's a little stark, but this is the part I have the most fun with, I think, because the results just right before your eyes, the flower just becomes so much more dimensional, and I don't know, I just love it. I find doing this little light shading in there to be very therapeutic. It's, to me, what the coloring challenge is all about. Maybe it's about clearing the nooks and crannies of our brains out. So anyway, but this is a beautiful floral, and this is definitely one that's going to stay in my stash. So I'm going to line up the accompanying honey cuts, as they call it, and line it up with purple tape. And purple tape doesn't cause any problem for me. I know people have said sometimes it warps. So I put it through my Gemini Junior, and now here's where I've decided to put the floral. And so I'm going to kind of offset the stamping just a little bit, and just getting my placement in there because yeah, I thought I was going to try to be able to hang it upside down. That was nuts, wasn't it? That was a nutty idea. But anyway, so you can see how there's a contrast between the white floral and the kind of grayish, bluish, greenish background. It looks more bluish than you can see. So I just treated it with my Embossing Buddy anti-static tool. It's just a bag of, I forget what's in it, resin. So I'm just going to give this a stamping a couple times, and sadly my Versamark is just on its last leg, and I ran out of the refill. So I have another pad on the way, but meanwhile this is a 3 stamping kind of thing. And the reason you could see it a little bit in there is because my pad's not completely clean, which actually is sometimes a very helpful thing. What I didn't show before this was that I made sure that the panel was nice and dry before I applied the embossing powder. So if you hear a noise in the background, it's just my pool filter turning on. And then I'm just going to heat emboss that with my heat gun. So we're back to the card. I'm going to put some 3M foam tape on here, and I'm trying not to panic while I watch this because that's almost like on the borderline of needing to order more. Anyway, so I'm going to line this up, and yep, I'm going to cut it on the back. Again, it's the coloring challenge, and Kathy's always talking about coloring, cutting, and using your scraps. I think I have a clipboard from one of the, excuse me, allergies. When she travels, I went down to MFT, and she was there. Anyway, I got a clipboard. It's wonderful. So I'm clipping some more off, and I just added a little bit of this. I've had the pleasure of sitting with Kathy at a crafty retreat, and she showed me just how to take the bits of things that I had to cut and put them somewhere else so that there wasn't much wasted. So I'm adding some different sequins. I think the clear are pretty pink Posh. I don't know where the white are from. So, and I'm going to use some Gina K Connect glue and the jewel thingy from Marby. Excuse my thingies. Oh gosh, that's terrible. It's not a pick. It's, I forget what it is. I'm using some Wink of Stella here to put some more sparkle into my card. And I like that Wink of Stella doesn't seem to change the color as much. So there's the card. And now I realized that my sentiment was just sort of fading into the background. So I'm just going to take a Copic marker and make a shadow on the left-hand side of each letter. And I've seen Kelly Lativola do this, so I decided to be brave and do it myself. But then when I'm done with this C1 marker, it still hasn't popped up enough. So I took a deep breath and I went in with the C3. I think I could have used a C5 and I would have been safe. But I really wanted to see the sentiment pop off of here, and I wanted it to be noted by the recipient. So there's the card. Thank you for being here with me today. I would love it if you give this a thumbs up and subscribed to my channel. That would be wonderful. I'll have the link to my blog in the description box below. And I'll also have links to the products that I've used and any other information that you may need. This is a great project, and it's going to make a beautiful Christmas card for someone very, very special. And that's the coordinating envelope behind there. So Gina K, I love how the paper and everything is coordinated. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you. Bye-bye.